You are listening to South Niagara Conversations, a podcast presented by the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, along with 105.1 The River and 101.1 More FM.
Well, hello, and thanks to everyone who's joined us for our South Niagara Conversation series. For those of you who are tuning in from afar, we represent the communities of Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Welland, and Pelham. We're located in Southern Ontario, no better place to live, work, or play. Joining me today is my guest co-host, Rob Cheevers. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, Dolores. I'm hoping for some big news from the federal government today regarding border crossing. So it's fingers crossed today.
Fingers crossed. Yes, I think we're all expecting some good news today on a Friday. That would be great. Today, I'm very happy to be talking about two of our greatest assets here in Niagara. We're incredibly lucky to have both a community college and a university. I personally am a product of both. I'm excited about this conversation because both the college and university have often been champions for resources that are aligned with not only the current needs of their students, but also of the larger Niagara community. Rob, let's get right to it. Who do we have joining us this morning?
Thanks, Dolores. This morning, we welcome the president of Niagara College, Sean Kennedy, as well as the interim president of Brock University, Dr. Lynn Wells. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for joining us. Sean, I'm going to start with you. Yeah, you've been with the college for many years, but became president just before the pandemic hit. Can you talk a little bit about what your vision was pre-pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me first of all just say what a pleasure it is to be here this morning with the South Niagara Chambers. I had the notable start of I started on February 24th of 2020 as president, and 3 weeks later all hell broke loose. So I had 3 weeks of normal and thinking about the vision, and then of course an incredible pivot as we all faced, as all businesses and organizations faced. But I'm not sure the vision, my own vision, has changed from when I began as president. It has remained constant throughout, and I'm so looking forward to being able to really implement some aspects of that in our new strategic plan, which we're in the process of formulating after a really extensive set of consultations that we've done, mostly virtually, but also sometimes in person, internally and externally. And really, it is around the really leveraging the strength points of a college that has established itself as one of the top colleges in the entire country. So we will remain committed to working through our research and innovation division to support productivity and the economic competitiveness of businesses. To be a strong partner with our communities and community organizations and businesses. I mean, partnerships has always been a cornerstone of what has made us effective, I think, as a college and as a community college. And while we're focused locally on Niagara, that we also are Canada's most globally engaged college, that we're going to be always thinking global while focusing on the local.
Yeah, and Rob, you were part of the strategic planning engagement. We were lucky enough in South Niagara to have all four of our boards participate and provide some input, and we really appreciated that opportunity because we did have some thoughts, and we were happy to be able to share that. So thanks for that, Sean. So Dr. Wells, we'll get to you. You were the university's provost and vice president academic before you were named the interim president just this past July. What were some of the first things that you had to tackle in your new role?
Right. Good morning, Dolores, and thanks so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. So, as you say, I joined Brock University in July of 2020 in the role of Provost and Vice President Academic, so the senior academic officer, and I continue to hold that title. But in June, when Dr. Fearon, our previous president, moved to George Brown, the board asked me to serve as interim as well. So it's been a busy time. Of course, July of 2021 saw us preparing for a fall that we couldn't really anticipate clearly. well into the summer, we had been told to anticipate that we would be fully back on campus with no restrictions whatsoever, that the vaccination program was very effective and that we could essentially return to normal life. But as we all know, throughout July and August, we started to hear about the Delta variant and the impact that that was having in terms of transmissibility, even by people who were fully vaccinated. And that led to a pretty quick turn where we worked across the Council of Ontario Universities with the Ministry and the Chief Medical Officer of Health to arrive at a vaccination requirement program that would allow us to return to campus. And we knew that it was very important for our students to get back to campus this fall. The year of the pandemic has been extremely difficult for students with online learning really only available to them, no on-campus experience to speak of, no ability to make friends or build relationships. So we worked extremely hard in the month of August to implement a robust vaccine requirement program and to upload the status of all the members of our community, faculty, staff, and students, thousands and thousands of records, each one verified manually in advance of the return to campus. And I'm pleased to say that it's gone extremely well, that campus life is good. We've had virtually no cases of COVID on campus to speak of, just a handful, and all really well managed and under control.
So I heard yesterday, I don't want to start any rumors, but I heard yesterday that Carleton had announced that they were going back to online learning for January. Have you guys know?
I personally, I hadn't heard that. I don't know if Sean has, but each university does, of course, have to make its own decisions in terms of its own risk analysis. But Brock's plan for the winter term is to continue a mix of in-person and online instruction, with in fact an increase of in-person presence going up to about 80% of our classes will be offered on campus in January, and we'll continue to enforce our vaccine mandate.
And Sean, how about the college?
Well, we are first of all very proud of the fact that we throughout the pandemic have had students on campus for their lab hands-on learning experiences. We had about half of our students last year throughout the pandemic on campus for some portion, that hands-on portion of their learning. We've increased that this fall, and come the winter semester, we expect to have every student back on campus for some portion of their program. So we have gradually ramped up the percentage of programs or courses and labs that are being offered, but we'll have 100% of our programs where there's an on-campus component. Those students will be back in the winter semester, and we can hardly wait. We are very confident that, as I mentioned, throughout all of last year and then this fall, we've had students on campus, and we have not had a single case of on-campus transmission of COVID. And so we're very confident in our very strict protocols that we have in place. And the mandatory vaccination policy has added an extra level of safety. So we want to continue to put health and safety front and center, but I think as Lynn mentioned, also recognize the importance for university and college students of having that in-person interaction, of having some sense of community outside of their virtual learning, sitting alone and in their dorm room or in their parents' basement. We really do need to balance that mental health set of concerns and that opportunity for human connection with the need to balance the public health and safety concerns.
Right. And both university and college have such spectacular campuses. The university, I mean, I was a student there many, many years ago. And, every time I go to the university, I have to call Megan and say, where do I go and how do I get there? And because it's just it's grown so much and it's gorgeous. And of course, Niagara College with two amazing campuses that, again, are beautiful. It's a shame to have them empty, and we really want the students back and the staff as well. I mean that engagement is so important. I want to talk a little bit about our foreign students, our international students, because we really miss them in the community. For our members, those international students really fill a big role in terms of some of the part-time jobs and jobs after the fact. And there was a big impact to some of our businesses. So how are we doing with getting the international students back and on campus?
Would you like to start, Sean?
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. Thank you for the question, Doris. I think it's critical, and again, I'm so grateful to the chamber and the four individual chambers that were involved in our strategic plan consultation, because that sense of and the importance of us supporting the local, but also that global engagement is going to be continue to be part of our strategic plan and our efforts moving forward, and where we concentrate those efforts. And we're very aware of the importance of bringing young people from outside of Niagara, other parts of Ontario, other parts of Canada, but also around the world, to the Niagara region, because we have a labor shortage. We have a labor shortage crisis on our hands. And we're aware that our international students help to fill some immediate needs for many employers that are members of the South Niagara Chamber and across Niagara. But I think we also are, and you'll start to hear me talk about this more, I think we also need to talk about how these are ideal immigrants, future immigrants, and Canada needs greater levels of immigration to meet our future labor force needs. And the best source of future immigrants are students that have already been trained at a college or a Canadian college or university, have some Canadian work experience, and then are so well equipped to make that transition. So I think both short-term and long-term, that's going to continue to be a real strategic thrust for us. And throughout the pandemic, we have had over 1,000 students last year, and then come into Canada and to Niagara College to study at Niagara College. We had extraordinarily strict quarantine requirements. We had hotels in Niagara Falls that did a great job working with us to safely quarantine those students. We had public health come and do COVID tests, room to room, really quite extraordinary supports. And then this year we continue to bring international students back. So we are back to our normal levels of international students come the winter. And I think that will be greatly appreciated by so many of your members.
Yeah, that's great news. Lynn?
Yes, like Niagara College, Brock, of course, is eager to get its international students back. There have been a number of challenges for students trying to arrive from other countries. The guidelines and the rules have changed a number of times, understandably, given the changing conditions with the pandemic. And we've really been focused on assisting our international students in every way that we can to make their way back to Canada. We were fortunate that about 1,000 of our international students never left the country during when the pandemic broke out. They actually stayed and so didn't have to face those hurdles of trying to make their way back. But one thing that really struck me over the past few months is that we did a consultation through the McConnell Foundation, and Sean and I were both involved in that with leaders from across the region. And what every leader said really emphatically was that they valued the college and the university bringing international students to Niagara and to bringing those people with great skills and great energy and hopes for the future and people who can really contribute to diversifying Niagara and rebuilding the economy in a strong way. So, that's something that Brock is really committed to, is to expanding our international student population and making sure they're well supported. And one of the ways we're doing that is through developing a new engineering program that we'll be launching in the next few years.
Yeah, that's very exciting. The engineering program. We'll get back to that. I
just want to jump in here for a second, because I feel like during the pandemic, there's been a void in the community, not just of international students, but just students of both the college and the university in our community. I mean, those are not just our labor force, but they're also just good citizens. And it's part of what I love about living in this region is having those students around as part of the community. So I'm really pleased to hear that you're going to have 80 to 100% back between the two institutions of in-person learning. Experiential learning is something that both institutions do really well. And so I'm wondering what opportunities have come up through the pandemic that could perhaps get these students engaged in the community as we move forward or back towards in-person learning.
Maybe, Rob, I'd be happy to start with that and then hand over to Sean. Throughout the pandemic, we continued our real engagement with experiential learning. It's one of the hallmarks of Brock as an institution, is the emphasis on experiential learning, work integrated learning. And of course, that had to have new dimensions during the pandemic because everything had to be virtual. But we found really innovative ways of continuing that work. We launched a program called Brock's Got Talent to showcase our students' different abilities and skills. And we had students from the Goodman School of Business working with community partners to help those local businesses adapt to the pandemic conditions in terms of enhancing their digital presence, helping them with e-commerce solutions, and just generally rethinking their business models. So it was a great learning experience for our students, and I think really appreciated by a number of local businesses.
It's excellent. Sean?
I'll just unmute myself and jump in. Well, I think really the pandemic has shown some great innovation by our faculty and by our students in terms of how to respond to meet community needs. But to do it in a different way and to enable that experiential learning, because those always go hand in hand for us. That often the experiential learning, whether it's working on an applied research project with a local business to help them solve a real world problem, is experiential for the student, but it's supporting the local economy and our employers. Or supporting different community organizations. So a couple of examples in terms of some of those innovations that came up for us is through our health and community studies areas, ways of virtually supporting the fitness and health promotion in some of our long-term care homes that otherwise our students would be in there working with seniors in those homes, but we gave them iPads and did some things virtually with them in order to keep that focus on just staying connected with particularly vulnerable individuals in our long-term care homes. That sense of connection with students they normally would have in person, they could do virtually with a focus on health and physical health, but we also know that's so important for mental health as well. And another example was our culinary programs continued throughout last year. As I mentioned, we had many of our programs had some on-campus elements. But normally we'd have students on campus or a restaurant open, and some of that food could be used in other, could be served in other ways. But we didn't have those same customers. So instead, our culinary students did a Feed the Community program where they did hundreds of meals every week. And those meals went out to food banks or community service agencies across Niagara. And again, a way of serving the community, but also providing that experiential learning for our students.
Participating business of the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, an amazing online presence for you, has arrived. NiagaraGiftCards.com is a website for you to sell your business's gift cards and receive 100% of the proceeds. Increase your digital presence and build your business. Join the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce 6-month pilot project for free today. Visit NiagaraGiftCards.com to learn more and to fill out the sign-up sheet. The South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, helping businesses grow.
Yeah, we had a great experience too. A project that it was with Brock, with the university last year. The university spearheaded it, and I forget the amount of students that we had, but we had a number of students that we basically deployed into the membership. So it was projects that the membership needed assistance with, whether it was creating a digital platform or looking at inventory levels or HR policies, just very specific things that students were able to go in and take care of these projects for our members. And it was a wonderful experience. It's something that many of the members at the time either didn't have the time or the resources to do themselves. So the students were fantastic. And then this year, we took it on ourselves, but it was the staff at the university who guided us in putting together that grant application. And we actually have a team of Brock staff members who've helped us vet the projects and are mentoring the students as they work with our membership. So those are examples of things and partnerships that we love, because the impact is you can see it. It's so tangible, and of course there's examples of similar projects with the college. We were talking about the international students, and before the pandemic, we were, looking at the labor shortage, and like Sean said, it is a crisis, but it was a problem before the pandemic. And it was the college staff that guided us in terms of educating our members how to work with our international students to get their citizenship, and what some of the pitfalls were, and what some of the programs were, and just navigating around some of those issues. But it was the college staff who really were the resource for us. So these are the types of partnerships that in my opening remarks, I said we're incredibly lucky to have these two assets. I really mean that, because there's a lot of work that we can't do on our own, and we need both of you to support us. So it's a little love fest this morning, Rob.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I manage a business in Fort Erie, which is relatively rural. So it's sometimes tough to get staff. We have over 100 employees, and we leverage both the college for their culinary program and the university, particularly for the sport management program, to run internships and provide summer jobs for students. So as a business operator, I'm very grateful for the proximity of both of those campuses. So I'm wondering, because we always have students sort of on our campus, and it's interesting. I always make sure to find time to get to know each of them and understand what they're studying and where their research is headed. But I'm wondering, from the institution side, having these students integrated in a community, which both organizations do so well, how does that shape your research with what the students are bringing back to campus?
Right.
Well, maybe I'll start, Sean. Certainly, we have engaged students of all levels in research, undergraduate students, and of course, graduate students play a critical role in supporting the research programs of our faculty members, which in turn, of course, have a great impact on the community as well. So, we have students involved in things such as research on the need for childcare, accessible childcare as part of the economic recovery, or things around safe and affordable housing for women, poverty reduction work. We have people looking at children's mental health, and of course, increasingly research connected to Indigenous people and their unique needs in society. So for us, it's critical as part of students' learning journey to make sure that they have the opportunity to do research, to contribute, to support faculty research, but always in response to community needs. That's really the most important component of our research, is its responsiveness to community, because that's part of Brock's strategic direction.
Excellent.
Let me unmute again. Well, I guess this is such a key part of who we are as a college, and we are very proud that we have been one of the top colleges in the country in terms of applied research funding, and we want to continue to make sure that we seek that funding, because our model is that businesses come to us and they help to identify the research and development needs that they have, so that we, particularly in some of our areas of expertise around the Walker Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center, through our Food Technology Center of Excellence and our agricultural centers of excellence, that we're able to work with local sectors in order to provide solutions to the problems that they have.
Yeah, that's
I should probably just give a couple of examples. I was just thinking in terms of some of your members, just on the advanced manufacturing piece, that we've worked both with abatement technologies, which I know is a growing business in Fort Erie, and Andrew Harbour, their CEO, is now on our board of governors. We're thrilled to have him on our board. But we first got to know Abatement Technologies because they came to our research and innovation area for a project, and we worked with them to help them advance their business. We've also done work with Fleet, where we've taken some of our, again, with the advanced manufacturing capabilities we have, and are using lasers to help them assess some of their processes within their plant. So I think those are examples on the manufacturing side. We also have it on the agricultural side and the food technology sides, where we're helping local businesses either develop new products or improve their efficiencies and processes.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're always hoping for from both the university and the college, is that you're going to be able to respond to the needs of the business community as they come up, because things change. And I know at the university, you've got the micro-credential program. So the one that comes to mind is the insurance one for the insurance industry, because we've been hearing from many of our members for years that that industry really has a tough time finding people. And so, Lynn, I don't know if you can talk a little bit about those types of programs.
Certainly, no, and that's a great example, Dolores, to a program that helps to prepare students for engagement with the insurance industry. We call these our plus programs, and it really is a model for what we're building more and more through our new professional and continuing studies division. We've recently hired a wonderful associate vice president for continuing studies, April Dawn Blackwell, and she's going to help us to continue to build micro-credentials, again, in response to what people in the communities are looking for, really accessible programming, short-term non-credit programming that people can do to upgrade their current employment, or if perhaps they're looking for a change of employment. We know there's a lot of mobility in the economy because of the pandemic. The nature of people's work is changing in terms of work from home, or people engaging in perhaps multiple career points at the same time, moving between sectors. So with our new professional and continuing studies division, we'll be developing more and more micro-credential options for people to get engaged with in a very simple, accessible, and affordable way.
So will those types of programs, do you see those being more virtual? Because I'm thinking those programs will appeal to people who are already working. And I'm wondering if that's the thought process, that they will continue to be more of a virtual type of learning. And Sean, please feel free to.
Yeah, I was just going to, I think, one of the silver linings, I guess, of the pandemic has been it's forced us to think about new modes of delivery, new ways of taking that in-person learning with more flexible options for working professionals that want to upgrade their skills or retool and look at a new career. So we have a plan in place working through our through our academic areas. I know a number of areas are looking at ways of increasing that hybrid approach, so that there is greater flexibility. We also, of course, I think one of the things and I'm always, we have lots of students, the majority of our students are, kind of in that 18 to 24-year-old range, but we also have a bigger proportion of students, often than other post-secondary institutions, of professionals that have come back to school for our one-year graduate programs in particular, that simply are ready to make a career change. And those one-year graduate certificates, are so popular, and there's always a mix of age ranges in those. So we want to make sure we continue to have the way we deliver all of our programs, that we look at ways of enhancing flexibility, but also offer programs that we know are in demand for individuals that are either underemployed or frankly ready to make a career change.
So can I ask you, and Lynn, I want to hear what you have to say on this too, but Sean, is there still a continuing education component to the college? I remember years ago, there would be a calendar that would come out, and there'd be like, oh my gosh, 100 programs that you could take in the evening. Is that I should know the answer to this, but I don't. Is that still happening?
Yeah, certainly we continue to offer hundreds of courses and opportunities, often through Ontario Learn, which is those are online courses. It's a consortium of colleges, so not every college has to offer the same course. So it offers more choice to more learners. We host some of those, and then other colleges host others. So through Ontario Learn, we've expanded our offerings for those general interest or specific courses, but we're also looking at bringing in more micro credentials and that are stackable, so that it's laid out for individuals that may do a really specific micro credential, but understand that with 3 or 4 or 5 other micro credentials, it leads to something broader. So I think that's again, I know both for the university and for the college, the idea of micro credentials and what the framework looks like, and how to present those in a way that people understand that if that they're building blocks, that express a specific need, but then can be laddered into something else, is going to be a bigger part of our future programming.
And I realized I just really, really aged myself when I said a catalog, a calendar of. Holy smokes. Lynn, let's hear what you have to say on this.
Yeah, well, and I'm with you on the catalog. I remember those days too. Similar to Niagara College, Brock is really looking at kind of the new models of learning. Sean used the word flexible, which I think is the perfect word for program delivery in the future, that we understand that there's a real accessibility around online learning for people who are working full-time or have children or have mobility concerns. There are lots of reasons to make programming accessible in an online format, but people also, of course, value those in-person experiences to be together. So we're really looking at a mix of programming, and as Sean said, we too are looking at kind of the stackable credentials. This is the way of the future, and really working with industry partners to determine what kinds of micro credentials, badging, laddering opportunities are useful to people in their working lives. 4-year degree programs, credit degree programs are wonderful, and that's still our bread and butter, but there are lots of people, lots of learners out there that want different kinds of options to interface with the university in new ways at both the undergraduate and graduate level as they move through their career paths. And we know now that people don't tend to stay in one career throughout their entire lives. They are quite mobile in the system, and we want to be responsive to that.
Yeah, the other thing I'd add to Dolores and Rob, just thinking about kind of, there's the move to more virtual and smaller credentials. I think also trying to find ways, and this was paused, of course, during the pandemic, but we're so excited to start bringing back some of this shorter term on-campus programming for the community. We are bringing back motorcycle. We're relaunching our motorcycle training, which I think is probably one of our longest standing programs. I'm pretty sure that almost anyone who rides a motorcycle in Niagara has gone through our motorcycle training. So that will be back in the spring, and we're looking forward to that. But also thinking about starting to reinvigorate some of the initiatives that we had just started to play with, in terms of piloting things like Brewmaster Bootcamp, where if we have an opportunity, because our facilities, it's between semesters, we've got these amazing facilities that we could offer something in a 1-week duration that would give individuals who are interested in learning more that chance to use our facilities and to have that intensive learning experience on campus. So sometimes the flexibility, I think, is around maybe it's short and intense as opposed to virtual and in person. There's many different ways of offering flexible programming.
So we're talking about flexibility, which I love because that's important. But how quickly can we respond to a need in the community? So if there's a real shortage in a specific area and we need to get people trained for something, how quickly can the university and college respond to something like that? Because I've heard mixed messages. So some people have said, no, you know what, we can respond, we are flexible. And then I've heard, oh no, it takes us a couple of years to go through all of the processes to. So what's the real answer?
Yeah, thanks, Lois. I suspected those were reflections might come on the university side, maybe more so on the college side. And the reason for that is for credit programming. There are processes that need to be gone through in the university through our academic senate and then out through a quality assurance process, overseen by the Ministry of Colleges and Universities. And so credit programming, a 4-year credit degree program, yes, does take a couple of years to develop.
Engineering. That's what comes to mind.
Engineering. So we're working on it. It's going to take a little time, but we're working on it. And that's because obviously, a program like engineering has to be accredited by a professional body. It has to meet all of the quality standards that we would expect. You want your engineers to, build a good bridge and build a good road. So the approval processes take some time. So we make sure everything's in place. Where we can be more responsive and more nimble is on the non-credit side. Mm-hmm. We are working on an approval process in collaboration with our Senate that will be quite quick, so that when we get an idea, when we get a request from a community partner saying we could use a micro-credential in tourism or whatever comes along, we will be able to respond to that quite quickly. And as said, we've just made the great investment in a new associate vice president in this area. She comes to us from the college sector and has a lot of that great kind of responsive thinking in her background. So we're really excited. We're planning on launching our professional and continuing studies division in June of 22.
Great. And Sean?
Well, I think that the college system and certainly Niagara College, a cornerstone of what we're about, even from our very founding days under Bill Davis, was to be immediately responsive to changing industry needs and workforce needs, and so that continues to drive us forward. Certainly, 2 examples just within the last year, we have we've been able to increase by 50% our nursing programs, our practical nursing programs, and our personal support worker programs. Obviously, an overwhelming demand for graduates from those programs, so we've been able to ramp that up, and we made that a priority. We took other spaces that were we took one of our major meeting rooms and we just made it into a lab because it was such an immediate need for trained people in those fields. So we try and be as responsive as we can be. We also have some of our own approval processes, but we really do try and focus our efforts where the need is greatest. And another example, we'll be launching in the next fall, a graduate certificate in supply chain management. And so I think, if there are 2 recurring topics that we've all heard about almost every day in the news during the pandemic, it's the health system and then long-term care homes needing skilled people, and of course the challenges that we've all faced and that we're all paying for in different ways around supply chain.
Yeah,
there'll be no shortage of case studies in that area.
That is for sure, Rob.
One thing I'm hearing a lot is about pivoting and adapting, and it's something that I think we all have in common across all industries, and all of our members have been going through that for the last 2 years. And that pivoting and adapting really requires great teams, right? It doesn't happen without the resources, particularly human resources that we all have. So, now we're hitting a point, sort of, I wouldn't say the pandemic's in our rearview mirror, but it's definitely, I think the fog is clearing. So we're all starting to experience growth. And in your case, that's students coming back on campus. And for a lot of us, that's a return to some sort of normal. So I'm wondering, having 2 key executives on the call here today, what are you doing to engage and inspire your key staff? The people that are really, that's something I think all of our members can relate to. And, our teams have got us to this point where we're still surviving and, we're in the position to experience growth. So I'm wondering, I just want to hear from both of you about, how you're leveraging those human resources that have been so helpful.
Thanks, Rob. That is a great question. And I can't say enough good things about the teams that I work with here at Brock. All of them, as everyone in society went through, a very difficult year, working virtually, losing that sense of day-to-day engagement. But, everyone kept really focused on the strategy of the institution. And I think, bringing people back now, it's important, first of all, to recognize the service that people did put in over the last year, and the hurdles that they overcame, and particularly their commitment to our students throughout the pandemic, because that's where our focus always needs to be. But for me now, in an interim role, it's really keeping people focused on the fact that the future is a bright one. We've been through some difficult things, but there are great things on our horizon. And I've talked about, our continuing education development, engineering, like Niagara College, we're expanding in nursing, we're looking to expand in teachers' education, we're developing new programs all the time. We're going to be opening a new campus in Burlington as well. So there is lots ahead of us that is positive, and to keep people focused on that future rather than kind of dwelling on the difficulties of the past year. We made it through all that. We did a great job of doing that. So now let's get back to thinking about the strategic future of the institution.
Yeah, and for us, similarly, this is, for all of us, all businesses, all organizations, it's been a rough time. And I think we early on, one of the strengths of Niagara College, one of the reasons I'm so thrilled to be president is we have this caring, incredibly caring organizational culture. We hear comments about it from visitors, and all the time there's this palpable sense of pride and commitment to one another. So we had our hashtag NC Together and found various ways throughout the pandemic to reach out, support one another. We had some videos, we had different ways of both on campus and mostly virtual ways of engaging and having our employees engage with each other through our Niagara Day, which is an all-employee event. Normally we would have it, with about 500 people on campus. We found some really interesting ways utilizing our broadcasting, radio, television, film programs, utilizing those facilities to do some really interesting interactive things with employees. And we had 700 to 800 participants. So there are ways of ensuring that you continue to have those vital culture building events for employees. But also, I did a presidential listening tour where I had a chance in smaller groups, both on campus and virtually, as we started to think about dreaming big for our next strategic plan, leveraging our strengths, and then of course we've done the external consultations. But those small group sessions were also really powerful because we intentionally had a mix of staff and faculty and administrators from different areas of the campus, so they heard each other, and it just generated this incredible buzz and excitement. And it will lead us to some amazing things that in terms of key areas of focus moving forward around academic excellence and innovation, our global engagement opportunities, partnerships, as I mentioned earlier, and the ways of engaging in partnerships with our communities and employers, and then a real focus on finding ways, thinking about the student experience, making that a holistic perspective and different ways of engaging our students so that they grow within the classroom, and they have co-curricular opportunities and experiential learning opportunities and volunteer service learning opportunities, so that they grow as citizens and as adults. So we're looking at all of those areas, and of course, still wanting to be a leader in the country in research and innovation. So I think there's a great sense of excitement around all of those key areas. But that coalesced through that listening tour. And I think one thing that struck me, and because it was always a concern, I think, Rob, you've touched on something that's such a concern for any leader of any organization after 18 plus months of just complete disruption from the norms that usually bring people together, that we find alternative ways of doing that, but continuing to nurture those critical connections. And I think it will lead us, we're still trying to find the equilibrium. We will have more flexible work moving forward, but we also have recognized the importance of place-based interactions and also a chance, regardless of function at the college, of employees feeling the buzz. I mean, we were Lynn and I are so privileged to be able to work with organizations in a setting that is so dynamic, and there's a buzz with students on campus that really is inspirational for all employees, and we want to try and make sure that we have an ability for everyone to experience that.
Yeah, that's a great message. Some words of wisdom right there from you both. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of the podcast, the Small Business Enterprise Center, City of Niagara Falls. Thank you very much.
Do you have an idea for a small business? Maybe you're trying to grow a business that you've already started. Whatever the case, the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center is a community service that is here to help, offering entrepreneurs the tools to start and grow their businesses. The Small Business Enterprise Center is your one-stop for free business information and advice. Serving Niagara Falls and South Niagara, learn more about how we can help you and your business succeed at niagarafalls.ca/SBEC.
We're getting close to our time, but I want to touch just briefly on the relationship between the college and the university. I know that there's some joint programming. I think the Police Foundations might be one of those programs, but I know that there's a few others. And, sometimes people don't realize how closely the university and the college work together. So if you could touch on some of that, that would be great. Lynn, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so I have to say I love college-university partnerships. In my previous work in another province, I worked a lot with colleges from the university side. So one of the first things I did when I became provost last year was connect with my counterpart, Fiona Allen, over at Niagara College. She's just wonderful. And we set up a working group bringing, leads from our various academic teams together, our deans, our registrars, and they're continually talking about new ideas. We have, great program collaboration such as the game program. So that's around, like video game development that's, brings together the kind of applied side from the college, but the, narrative development side from the university faculty involved, very popular with students. I think it's a model for the ways that we can bring together the strengths of the college and the university to meet student needs, to give them programming that's relevant to them and attractive. So lots more to come. We're great friends and good partners. So.
Yeah, I just I couldn't agree more. I'll just say that for us, that partnership, our overall objective is to ensure that we do right by Niagara, for Niagara, and we're fortunate to have from the college perspective to have such a tremendous university within the region. But I think the expectation is for the communities and the citizens of Niagara that we're working together, and we do. And I think I just want to say that it's been a real pleasure to start to work with Lynn, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with her and her team, because we have some individuals that I think understand those, that really understand. Lynn certainly models that the importance of college-university partnerships and has experience in making those work. And we want to leverage those. And we're doing it, and Lynn touched on a number of ways that we're working together. And the game development program is a fully dual credential program where students are dual citizens of both Brock University and Niagara College throughout their programming. Is a good example of at a really integrated level of what we can do together. But there's also so many other ways that we work together, and both in Niagara and also we're doing more and more internationally. We're bringing our respective expertise to projects and capacity building internationally as well.
Fantastic. Well, I was anticipating a really good conversation this morning, and I was not disappointed. Thank you so much, Rob, for co-hosting this morning. And many thanks to both Sean and Lynn. Keep doing the great work that you guys are doing with your teams. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are heading into our holiday hiatus, but we'll be back in the new year with a brand new lineup of fantastic conversations. To all of our listeners, send us the topics that you're talking about, because we want to talk about them too. Thanks again for tuning in, and have yourselves a wonderful week.